Okay, so now that I've got some of the interior coming together, I want to look at how we can connect the two levels that we have. Obviously I'm looking there at the ground floor. You can see in my floor plans. If I go to level 1, you'll see it's fairly empty at the moment. So maybe just to make it clear, I might put a door in here that goes to the outside, except I'll make it open the other way. And that way I've got something to connect the stair to that I'm going to make. So I'll start with the exterior stair and then I'll do an interior stair. And so before you make a stair, it's really important that you have an idea of the levels that you're going from and to. So I'm also going to have a look at my section. So you can see there my section that I've selected. And if you select a section, you can always right click and choose Go to View. Another handy thing if you don't know, you can also double click on the arrowhead of the section to open up the view, and that does the same thing. Okay, so you can see there the two levels, and you can see why it's so important to check these things before you start to make your stair, because my floor there is at the correct height for level 1. But level 1 itself is not at the correct height. So what's happened there? Remember, I gave you this file, so the floor came in at the height it was in the file I gave you, but level 1 has stayed at the height it was in the file that you've inserted into. So that means, again, it's too high. So we've got to firstly check the floor, and you can see in properties, it is hosted by level 1, you can see there, but the height is minus 550. You'll see in a second why we have to remember that. So now I'm going to select the level and move it down 550. So I'm going to click Move, click a base point and then move down 550. And what's happened? It's changed. So it's 3450, which is I think correct. But the floor has gone with it. So how do we fix that? Put the height offset to 0, exactly. That's it, spot on. So now the floor is at the height it was to begin with, but the level, most importantly, is correct.
Can you just change the level to 3, 4, 5, yeah?
You can, absolutely, yes, that's right, that would work, yeah. But you still have to move the floor up, yeah, but that's right, exactly, yeah. Okay, so now I can make my stairs using those level heights. Now, you'll see, if you look at the videos I did last year, we spent a bit more time making the site before making the stairs, and you'd see that the floor level, also the ground level outside is a little bit lower than the floor level. But for the time being, I'm just going to make the stairs from the floor level. So, now on the Architecture tab, I'm going to go to the stair tool. And so notice in Properties, it picks up those levels. And that's why you need to spend a bit of time looking at your levels before you start to use the stair tool. And again, we can look a little bit at some building regulations now as well. So you've got the ground floor level as the base level, and then level 1 is the level we're going to. And so what's Vale gone and done for us? It's given us a number of rises. This is the desired number of rises, which is 19. So how do you think it's worked that out? How do you think it knows already that we need 19 rises?
Does it know what the measurements are from ground floor to level?
Exactly, that's right. It knows the two levels, so it's picked those up automatically. You can change them if you need to go to different levels, you can change that. But it's got the right levels and knows the height, 3450, so it's worked that out. So then what else does it need to know to be able to know, so you're on the right track, absolutely, that they're going from one level to another. And then, exactly, and then it knows the required maximum height for a riser. So do you all know what the maximum height for a riser is? That's your tread depth, yeah, 250 is your tread depth. 190, that's right, yeah. Now it can be 180 in certain situations, but yeah, normally 190. Okay, so here it actually says that in the name, 190 max riser, 250 going. Going is the same as tread. So when you go to edit type, you'll see you can change that. But you probably shouldn't, because you shouldn't have a stair that's higher than 190. So, what does that mean? If we have 19 rises in this staircase, 19 steps, so is that allowed? Exactly. That's right, 18 is the maximum. So we need to break that up and have 2 flights, if that's the case. But that's fine, Revit can do that for us. So looking at the stair pattern there, we can see, again, we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4 rises. So, easy peasy. If I just can think about the direction we're going. My brain's not working today. Okay, so we're going from towards the driveway. So the stair starts about here. So I'm just trying to think about this. Yeah, it starts about here actually. So what did I say, 5 rises? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I come across to the right and click again to draw the second flight, and notice that it automatically has put the landing in. So that works. Yep. And I've gotten a bit wrong because this staircase, or this last step, should line up with the wall here. That the landing's on top of this little extension. So no problem. After finished drawing, and notice I'll just maybe draw that second flight again. And what I should have said, when you first start to use the stair tool, it's on this run option. And then it's got the straight option there by default as well. So I didn't need to change that. But now that I've gone back to it, I have to choose those options again. So run, and then straight. And now I'm using the cursor just to line up my starting point with the previous flight. Click, come down, and notice that it won't go beyond the number that are set in properties. So you can finish it before the maximum, but if you go past that maximum number, it finishes there anyway. So I've got my 2 flights. Again, don't try to draw the landing, it'll put that in for you. And then, after you've finished it, you can always select the whole thing and use move to line that up in a different place. And you can see then, if you look at this, so that landing, you can see it does come out from the building, so that's probably about right. And yeah, it's okay. But if you look closely, you can see that probably if you project that across, and you're also looking at the stair here, I know it's pixelated, but you can tell that that step probably is in line with this wall. So maybe I need to add 1 more riser, because I'm not going to worry about putting the steps up on top of the landing there. So let's just say I want to take this step from this flight and add it to the first one. When you select any stair flight, you'll see at the end you get a little circular grip and you get an arrow shaped grip. And they do different things. So the circular one will just take things away. So I've taken 2 risers away, or 2 threads, and I'm now back to 17. And you can always see how many risers in your staircase either by looking at the count there, or in properties you can see there. The actual number is 17. I don't want that because I want to keep the number at 19. So I'll undo that, select again, and this time instead of using the circle, I'm going to use the arrow. So I'm going to take it back 1, and you'll see it adds it to the first one. So it keeps the total number the same. So it's just good to look at closely those different options, and they're really useful. So now I can just select the whole thing again and move it across to touch my wall, and you can see then that the landing pretty much lines up with the wall. So I might just do a couple of little quick examples of other types of straight stairs. You see it's a pretty flexible tool. So all I've done there, nothing special, just clicked on the stair tool in my ground floor plan, and it's picked up the same riser count, and I've got the run option there with straight stair. And if I draw something over here, and then do another one starting somewhere in a different alignment, it's just going to put a landing in between. And then if we move those, the landing is going to adjust automatically. That's pretty handy. And then again, trying those options with the arrow, of course. We can, left clicking, just dragging. So, yeah, just a normal mouse click. Yeah. So, it's good just to experiment and see what sort of different stair shapes you can get, even just with the straight stair tool. So I'll finish that one, and then let's try another one. So if you have a series of landings, that's of course possible, and works in a similar way. So it's just putting in the landings automatically between these flights. So I'm only drawing the flights, and the landings just go there by themselves. But what if you want a more unusual or different shaped landing? I've got a few options there. So getting a bit more advanced with stairs, when you select a landing, you can convert it up here. So is that something you've done? Have you looked at converting stairs or land? Okay. So any of these things, if you select either the stair or the landing, you'll get that convert option. Then it gives you the option to edit the sketch. So it's a bit like a floor. So if I go to edit sketch now, they're green lines, but otherwise it's pretty similar to editing a floor. So maybe I want to round the corners off. So if you haven't seen this one, fillet arc, lets you do that. And you can even round the stair path off. Oh no, so we've got to use stair path though. Yep. So that's going to give me a curve landing. Right, so you can apply the same idea to a stair. So this stair, let's say I want it to taper. So again, selecting it, again, convert, edit sketch, and this time we've got those same green lines, but then we've got black lines for the risers, and again that blue line for the stair path. So they're really the three components of any stair. Always the green for the boundaries, black for the risers, and blue for the path. So I can move this across, and then if I want it to be an angle, it'll do, something like that. And there's a nice thing with stairs. It doesn't force you to connect all of the lines, like a lot of other things in Revit. As long as you can connect the outside, so it's a closed shape on the outside, it doesn't matter if these risers don't extend. When you finish it, it'll do that for you. You possibly can, but yours is even more unusual. So you might get something pretty close to what you want, but to get exactly what you've modelled, I think you're still going to have to use model in place. But it won't take that long. Yeah, and so even if you can get your steps to follow the shape in the plan, getting the sides is going to be difficult, and for that you'll definitely have to use model in place. Yeah. But it's not that difficult, and once you get the stairs to give you the height, then you can just pick the surface and model straight off it with your excursions. It'll work really well. Yeah, I will. Oh yeah. You will, but I only convert it once you've got the heights right. And I'll show you that as well. Yeah. But it will definitely work, yeah. Okay, so anyhow, so it's good just to try and get some different stair configurations. And remember, this is all with the straight stair tool, the first option there so far. So I'll finish that, and we've got to have a look at how these look in 3D, and I want to give you some time to try this, so I won't go too long. But you can see there. So it might look great in plan, but then, again, because Revit is an architectural and construction tool, it's obviously used hugely in interior design, but most interior designers end up having to tackle all these architectural construction issues as well, because you've got to build the things you design. And so you can see there, it's actually not too bad, but the stringer can often have issues. It's actually turned out all right though, luckily, but you'll see sometimes it won't always work out as well as this. And also you can change it to other kinds of stairs. So these are, I suppose some people call them housed stairs. In Revit, they're called assembled stairs, and you've got then the other types, which are these monolithic kinds of stairs. The cast in place and the precast stairs are both essentially monolithic, which is pretty much concrete, and they're built slightly differently, and they have some slightly different issues, but you can always just try changing to those and seeing what happens, and don't worry about the difference between cast in place or precast. They're basically the same, for you anyway. And so the big issue is that they, for some reason, set the default riser height to 180. Don't ask me why, it's just, I think it's an American thing. And then the maximum tread depth, minimum tread depth, 280, which you definitely, I mean, I've built plenty of concrete stairs and I've done them with 250 treads, so it's not a construction issue, it's just, I think it's just an American thing. So, so there we are. So you can, when you've made the stair, you can always go back and edit the type, and you can change those riser and tread depths. So again, still with the straight stair tool, let's do one more. So again, straight stairs. And so let's say we want a concrete stair that only goes a few steps. So instead of having a top level on level 1, I'll set the top level to ground floor, and I'm going to set the top offset to, let's say, 500. So that's going to give me 3 steps. And you can change it. You don't need to just accept what it gives you. You can always change the number there. Right, so with 250, let's make it 600. Okay, so that gives me 4 steps, right, which gives me a 166 recurring, 0.6 recurring, or says there 0.7 riser height. But I want 150. So I'm going to increase the count to 5. Oh. Let's just check this. Sorry, my maths is not. So 150. No, 4 should have been right. Why is it doing that? Sorry. There we go. So 4 is right, yeah. So 4. Don't know what happened there. Okay, so yeah, decreasing it to 4, and that gives us, of course, 150. 600 divided by 4. And so then I can draw a little monolithic stair. And again, in the 3D view, you can see it there. Right, but then, usually with a low height stair like that, you don't need the bottom to be cut out like that with the stringer, basically. And it's often easier just to make them with mod in place. So if you start out with something like this, you can always leave it there to give you the heights, and then just quickly put a use mod in place. I'll still choose stairs, it's my category, and then just put an extrusion over the top for each step. So back into a 3D view, I can see the extrusion. It's far too high, but not a problem, because I can just stretch that, and then to follow the steps, it will snap to the steps. There we are. And then I'll copy that a couple of times. Right, so then I've got 2 more extrusions, and then I can just stretch each one to line up with the top of the step. Finish it. Okay, so then I can get rid of that little stair that I've made. Right, because a staircase like that, if it's that low, you don't even need a handrail, and it's much better just to make it a little freestanding object. And you can still make it nice and connected using that join option. Right, so is that something you were shown in CAD too? Did they do that with you? Sure they would have, because I've set that in the brief. So hopefully they're still doing it. Yeah, good. Okay, I just wanted to check that. Good. So yeah, so again, that's still just with the straight stair tool. So I better just quickly look at the other shapes you've got. So again, back to architecture, stairs, and it's good just to experiment with the stair tool. Don't be too, or don't try to get the exact stair after when you're just trying to work out the tool. So with still the run option, and then you've got these two options after that for curved stairs. So the first one is essentially 4 spirals, and it's good just to experiment with it. So here I'm going to click a center point, bring it out, and that's going to give me the path. And you can see there it's still got an error symbol, so I have to go out far enough to be able to fit the width of the stair into my curve. There's technically no legal requirement in the BCA, but you wouldn't want to go less than 700. And I actually did one that was 700 not far from here in Petersham. And I was a bit sad about it afterwards, even though it was just a stair going from the study to like a mezzanine with the bedroom. And it was all open around it, so it was open both sides, but it still just felt a bit tight. We had to do it had to be small, but I would have made it a bit bigger if I'd known better. But yeah, 700 absolute minimum, but really 900 is what you'd want to aim for these days. Here it's set to 1,000. And actually I probably should have shown you that. So let's say the spirals normally are a bit narrower than other stairs, so I'll take it down up here, actual run width, I'll make that 900. And then when I bring it out, that's going to be the width. And so full step spiral, as you can imagine from the name, does a full step. In other words, a full flight of stairs. So it's going to do all 19. And I would struggle to put a landing into a stair like this anyway, so I'm not going to do the landing, even though it's legally required. And so there we are. So we've got a basic spiral. That's with the concrete one. Well, yeah, you'd have to, really. But we can't because the levels won't let us. Well, we can, but then it wouldn't make it to the next story. So, going back, one option would be just to have a platform, but that's often one solution, is just to have a little platform step that's kind of like a landing at the bottom, and that can effectively work like a floor, and then you have the other steps, and that's a really good solution, actually. So this is a concrete one. Doesn't work that well for spirals. So let's do another one over here. Oops, again, go to the step spiral. Okay, so there's the new one. You see what it does is put a stringer on both sides. Yeah, well, it's good for the outside, but usually the inside one there is going to get a bit tight and looks a bit strange, so that'll be replaced by a post in reality. So if you look at the stair in properties, I'll duplicate it because otherwise I'll be changing all of the other stairs. And then it's the supports that make those stringers, and which way are we coming up at? So it's the left support I'm going to set to none. And that just takes it off, and you can put a post in there instead. There's another way, you can just delete it manually, but that way works. Then it's good to get you looking at the properties. So that's for a full spiral, but if you really after a curved stair, there's another tool. So again, back to the stair tool. So next to full step spiral, you've got centre end spiral. And it's really, I know they call it spiral, but it's really any curved stair. So for that one, so maybe I'll do this one inside, and yeah, I'll go with this curved stair this time for my little mock-up design, and yeah, I'll do something interesting. So I'm going to try to get it to follow around here, and I might cut a hole in this wall later. So, okay, so I want to go around this edge. So up until now, I've been drawing with the location line on centre. But you can set it to draw on either side as well. If you want to draw on the left or the right of your stair, you can do that. But you need to think about the way you'd be walking up the stair. So if I was walking up the stair from here, then this edge would be on my right. Does that make sense? Okay, so facing this direction. So I would run right. And then you need to give the centre point first. So the centre of that curve would be roughly like about here. And then I can come out. Still a bit too close, but yeah, so I'll cancel that and I'll just put the centre a bit further back. And then come out and yeah, that'll be. So then I'm going to place my start point near the wall there and come around. I know the stairs on the wrong side, but when I come around the other way, there we are, it'll force it to go the right way. And I'm going to put in a few steps there. And what you want to look at there as well, if you're not seeing where I get the risers from, it's down here. You can see it's got it in grey. It counts the number of risers that you have, but you can also just count it yourself. So 1, 2, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'll do one more, I think. Yeah. So that's 9 risers, and then I might want the next flight to start further along. We'll have a different curve. So, well, let's say I want the curve to go the other way. Right? A bit like that is. So, okay, so I've got to think about where the centre of that would be. So always when you're drawing a curved stair, you give the centre first. So maybe about there. And then the first point on the radius. And then you come around to give the end or the other point on your flight. But notice this is one of the most annoying things. If the curves don't follow, you can actually make a curved landing this way, but if the curves don't connect, it won't give you a curved landing, and you have to manually go back and do what I showed you before, convert it, and then you can edit it and make it have the curve you want if that's what you need. And it's nice, curved stairs do look really good. Okay, so something like that maybe, I don't know. And I'll do another curve over here. Get rid of these extra lines, and I'm just going to round off this blue line. That blue line doesn't really affect the way the stair turns out, but it does show up with the arrow, the line that the arrow sits on, so it's just a graphics thing to make it look a bit prettier. Oh yeah, but notice what's it doing? It's giving me a green line because I've gone to make my arc with the boundary option still on. So I'm just going to change it there to stair path and then choose that same fillet arc option and choose my 2 lines and have a curve. That's a bit better. There we go. So yeah, so you can do most stair shapes you need with the stair tool. But if you've got a more unusual design, don't worry. If there's something you can't do with these automatic options, you can always do it in another way by modelling, which I'll go more into later. So the last thing I'll just point out there, I know we're going to run out of time, but the L-shaped and the U-shaped winder shouldn't really be used for stairs. And that's a problem. People often use those because they think it's for L-shaped and U-shaped stairs, but they're not. They're for winders. So you know what a winder is? So you know when a landing, when you have a certain number of steps that, usually 2 or 3, that wind around the landing instead of a landing?
Oh, yeah.
Those, yeah, right, that's a winder. So that's what these are for. They're not really.
They're not legal anymore, or?
No, that definitely wouldn't work. If you used it for a whole stair, no, that wouldn't be legal. No. So they're for a part of your stair. So that's where it works really well. But unfortunately, I don't know why that example that comes out there shows you a full stair, because it's not really useful for that. And then the last thing, we've got sketch-based stairs, which I'll maybe show you later. They're a bit more involved, but also you can do a lot more with them. So a sketch-based stair basically lets you draw all of the shapes of your stair using those lines I've just been touching on a bit when I went to edit the stairs. It's basically the same. But we'll have to look at that later. So, but anyhow, that hopefully is going to be enough to get you started with stairs. And you can see here, even with that, it's sometimes going to give you a warning, but don't worry if it's a warning. it means it's made the stair. It's just telling you that there could be a problem with it. But I'm sure if I see this in a camera view, the whole stair is going to be there. Yeah, there we are. So very last thing, yeah, so then notice that the railing's a separate object. So that can easily be changed separately when you select it. You'll have a few railings preloaded, but don't worry if you think that's it. There are plenty of railings in the library. I don't have time to show you today, but there is a library of railings, which a lot of people don't realise is there, but it is. There's also a library of stairs. We'll have to look at that next week. But what I need to just show you quickly is, or at least tell you, is that you have to cut your own openings, which is how you want it, because you don't want the stair tool making the opening for you. You want to be able to decide. So, have you done shafts before?
I've done that, but
Oh,
I
you,
can't remember.
you haven't? Well, I can show you very quickly because that shafts are easy. There's a more complicated way, but let's show you shafts. So, okay, so I'm in the ground floor plan. I'm going to click on the shaft tool, and then your best friend, pick lines, is great because you can just pick anything. If you've already drawn it, you don't have to draw it again. Pick things you've already drawn, and then there's a little line there, that's annoying. You still have to make sure all the lines are connected, so I'd make that neater later, but that'll do for now. Just want to get it done. Okay, so I'm going to trim all of these lines and make sure it's still a closed shape, but of course that's much quicker than having to draw all of these things from scratch. Okay, so I'm trying not to use shortcuts here, that's why it's going a bit slow, but there we are. Okay, so that's made a void now that should cut through to the level above. Still needs a bit of tidying up, of course, but at least there's an opening there. So you don't hit your head when you're going through the stairs, and yeah, we'll go further into that next week. Oh, but there you can see what's it doing. Cutting a hole out of my floor on the bottom as well. I don't want that, so I'll just fix the shaft so it doesn't touch the floor, and it's going to cut through the ceiling and the floor above. And again, we'll go further into that next week, but at least that'll give you something if you want to start to play around with stairs and connect your levels.